What is good, everybody? Happy Monday. How are you all today? Thank you all for joining me here live. If you don't know me, that's interesting. How did you end up on this stream? But if you don't know me, my name is TAETRO. Thank you for being here. If this is your first stream, definitely say hello in chat. But I already see some regulars hanging out in the chat. Thank you all for being here. Thanks everybody that was hanging out in the sort of pre-stream chat. I'm not by the river, Pascal. How do you know? There's a river right outside my window, and you can't tell because it's so overexposed that I'm just glowing. I'm actually reporting to you from the sun today. Reporting to you live from the sun, the brightest star in our solar system. The only star in our solar system, you could say. We've got a lot of gear to check out today, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail. I've got this selection of gear over here, which I have this new stand, which I can talk about in a bit. But this is going to be a lot of fun. So I've got a poll up. So if you want to vote on kind of what we get into first, go ahead and vote in that poll. We should have time to touch on everything today. And I will also preface that this gear that we're talking about today is all pretty new to me. So I'm not here to present to you the ins and outs of all these pieces of gear. I'm here to just do a little exploration. Check out some of my first impressions of some of this gear. Some of it I'm working on or have worked on for sponsorship opportunities. So that I dropped a short today. If you're curious about the Easyplay 1S, which is the small pocketable thing, I dropped a short talking about that today, or an Instagram reel. The Donner D1 drum machine, which is a drum machine that I'm working on a video for, but I don't even have the full manual for it yet. So very early stages of working with that. And then Roland was just kind enough to send over all this stuff, the TR8s and the two Arias, which the Arias totally have been off my radar. Oh, no, not Aria. It's Ira? Is that how you say that? I always read it as Aria, which makes way more sense, but it's Ira, I think. And I have a couple news articles for you today. So if we want to talk news, we want to check out some new gear, this is the place to be. We are usually live every single Monday on this channel. So make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss a future stream, especially if a bonus stream pops up here or there off schedule on a Monday. We've also got a full playlist where you can watch all past streams here on the channel. If you just go to the playlists tab from the main channel homepage, you'll see a 2024 streams playlist. So check that out. Sometimes we're making music, sometimes we're checking out gear, sometimes we're talking about the news, and then some days like today we're talking about all that. But also we're answering your questions. So if y'all have questions in the stream or in the chat, please let me know. Nice to see you, Kayla. Thank you for being here. Welcome. Happy Monday. Yes, it's a fun day. How are you doing, Krios? Nice to see you as well. What's up, Bobby Limes? Happy New Gear Day. Thank you, my friend. Bobby Limes, I hope it's going... Oh, random clap just came through. I hope your journey through the Ableton Live for Beginners series is going well. I know you talked about digging into that. Also, didn't know you were an accountant, so... Found that out today. We were having a discussion about taxes and being a solo business owner, or a sole proprietor, in the Discord the other day. Discord, which you can get access to by being a channel member. If you want to support the channel, click the join button below the video and see all the perks that you can get. Simone. Hi, Simone. How are you doing? Is this a different Simone than our usual? Or is it Simon S? This is not... Maybe it's not Simone. Maybe it's Simon S.A. Correct me if I'm wrong, my friend. Groovin DJ says, I have a couple of the Iras. They're fun. Which ones do you have, and what do I need to know about them? Right now, I have the Chord, the J-6, and the S-1. The J-6 I've played with a little bit, but the S-1 I have not turned on at all. So that's coming. Oh, that's true, Pascal. I'm on a stream, not a river. I got it. Thank you. I spent the weekend getting back to the basics of making some chill, lo-fi, ghost wavy kind of music, to be honest. And I want to get back in the groove of that. I've kind of left that for a while as I've been experimenting with all this hardware, as I've been doing stuff with you know, the different performance setups for the album release, whatever. But this weekend I started working on 2 beats. You know, one of them is nearly done. I'm gonna do a video for it, I think, and the other one is in a really good place as well. So more to come. If you missed the old style like beat videos, all that is coming. Bobby says, thank you, finished the Ableton series and I'm getting lost in music making. That's what I'd like to hear. Congrats on that. Groovin DJ's got the J6 and the E4. Nice. What is the E4 all about? I know they got the vocal processing one, which looks cool as well. Good morning, French Doors to Deck. Interesting name. Have you always been a no mouse pad kind of guy? I have always been a no mouse pad kind of guy. I don't know. I have the Apple Magic Mouse, which is like one of the worst designed Apple products ever, but this has served me very well over the years. I think the battery is starting to lose capacity. And the shitty part about that is when the battery loses capacity, you have to charge it through the charging port on the bottom of the mouse, which means you cannot use the mouse and charge it at the same time. But that being said, no mouse pad, just got this wooden table here and never have any problems. So there's that. Let me know how that is, Groovin DJ, because I don't know how these IRAs have just been off my radar, because a portable unit that does the vocal effects, that's kind of like something I've been yearning for in some of my setups, but who knows. What's up, Josh West? Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. Rocky Timbaland with a really great compliment. Sometimes when driving my car, I listen to your music album Hauntology, Bad Dream, etc. Rocky Timbaland, thank you so much. That means a lot. I think it's good driving music, especially if you're driving at night. I'm trying to work on more music that has that vibe, like a night driving vibe. So, working on that. I was so close to getting the S-1 tweak. What kept you from getting it? And also what interested you in it in the first place? I'm curious to know. Have you ever produced someone else's song or album? I've done like some, when I was doing more like teaching stuff, I had like a small studio, not my studio, but the place where I was teaching, and I would produce for the students and stuff there. Mostly I was trying to help them or encourage them to learn to produce their own stuff, but I would occasionally produce in that context. But I haven't really done much production for other people. I feel like I'm a bad collaborator, to be honest. Kpez, shiny new gear day. Yes. What's going on with the poll? It's getting, as more people trickle in, the poll is withering away, but the IRAs have a strong lead. I'll leave that up for like another minute. Or I can leave it up for a bit more than that. Love the classic sounds it packs in. Think I'll invest in the Bass Station 2 instead. Oh, interesting. Yeah, from my time with the J6, which I've just kind of scratched the surface with, you plug that thing in and it sounds amazing right off the bat. So that's super cool. Yes. Well, I hope you're all doing well. Like I said, if it is your first stream, if you've never been in a stream before, please say hello in chat. We would love to welcome you. We're a very welcoming community. As hopefully you can tell, it's positive vibes all around here. And we're live every Monday. So if you're enjoying the stream so far, if you want to just be a part of a cool music community, I do encourage you to subscribe, hang out. We're going to be announcing next week, I'm 99% sure, we're going to be announcing a new community challenge, so stay tuned for that. A couple more questions in the chat here, then I'm going to talk briefly about some news stuff, and then we're going to get into the gear. If that sounds good for you, then let's do it. Kpez, do you have any issues with your Seek track? I had to return mine. Oh, tell me about why you had to return it. I haven't had any issues, and I've done some traveling with it too. Pascal says, I did too. Interesting. What issues did y'all, was it like a defect issue that you had to return it for? You know, like the KO style with the broken faders or whatever, or was it just it didn't work for you? What was the defect? Oh yeah, Pascal says the next unit I got was fine. Very interesting. I haven't had any weird issues with it. No. Oh, key, like specific, like key. I guess you mean literal key. Sorry, I thought it meant like a key issue. One of the synth keys did not hit well. Brand new after a few days, it was loose. Interesting. No, I haven't had that problem, but I could definitely see that because those keys. I mean, the keys are the worst thing about the Seek Track, to be honest. That's why I did a whole video and made a whole template for the launch key specifically. So I keep getting that random clap sound. It's very interesting. Groovin DJ says, getting more IRAs is tempting once you buy your first unit. Uh-oh, these are gateway drugs? Is that what you're telling me? The IRAs, your first IRA is a gateway drug to more IRAs? I guess I just always associated them with like the Korg Volcas, but which never really interested me. Flint A asks in chat, if any Logic users are in the chat, curious to hear what you have to say about this question. Is Logic Pro X valid in 2024? Your music theory vids have saved my ass so many times. Thank you, Flint. I'm glad you've found the music theory videos helpful. I think Logic Pro is very, 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 very valid in 2024 and beyond. I say that as a Ableton Power user. Logic is very, very valid. First of all, it's Apple, so they have a ton of money to throw at this DAW. Second of all, you can tell that they have a mind towards the future in that they are making their software work on iPads. You have to think of the future generations. How many young people do you know that like don't even have a laptop? Maybe they've got a Chromebook for school or something like that, but they are fluent in phones and iOS and all of that. So the future generation that's so used to interacting with that kind of interface, if they want to go make some music, they're going to ask, what app do I download? Not like, what software do I get on my computer, you know? So I think Logic, just based on that, is very, very, very valid. They added stem separation. They've got the session players as well. I haven't personally used it, but I've been very tempted to jump into Logic Pro on iPad. Looking for like simplification of making music. I mean, I love the Ableton Live workflow, of course. I think Logic is probably just more like, you know, the linear workflow of any typical DAW. And a ton of people use it. So definitely relevant in 2024. If you want to see Logic Pro content on this channel, let me know. And at the end of the day, all the DAWs are just tools anyway. So you can find famous, very successful producers whose music sounds great that produce in like pretty much every piece of software that's out there, including free software like BandLab to like Studio One. Who the heck here uses Studio One? Some people do. And I'm sure they make great music with it, you know? Metalise agrees. IRAs and boutiques are like drugs. What's up, Oscar from Sweden? Thank you for joining us today. I'm procrastinating sound work. What are your best tips to get things done? I'm a number one procrastinator. Definitely. So I'm definitely not the best one to give advice on this. But usually I find the biggest thing that leads me to procrastination is not having like a clear set of steps to like how to progress. Or I have a task and it feels like a big task that I just can't do right now. But what it actually is, it's a big task that can be broken up into very much smaller tasks that are much more achievable. So if you're having trouble getting some stuff done, think about the easiest first step that you can just get done and only like commit to doing that. If there's like one step that you need to do that could take 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes, just commit to doing that. And then what I find is that often snowballs into getting the rest of the task done. Like if I got to shoot a video, I gotta prepare, I gotta learn the gear, I gotta prep the tech, I gotta set up the camera, I gotta prep all this stuff. All of that adds up to shooting a video. But if I break that into very small pieces, I can feel better about trying to get it done. Tenley, nice to see you. And can we give a warm welcome as well to Johnny Cubero? John from the Netherlands. Thank you for joining us for your first chat and stream today. Welcome, my friend. Thanks for being here. The Keezy Level says, Yo, TAETRO, I've been releasing music for a couple years now and wanted to expand into producing your music theory videos. Made everything so easy. I just finished them 2 days ago. Thanks so much. Congratulations, my friend. You made it through the music theory course. Is there anything you wish could be added to that music theory course? I would love to know. Or is there anything that would have helped you in working through the music theory course? I've been thinking of all kinds of things, ways to improve that. Because, of course, YouTube is great for like putting out videos and everybody can get them for free and learn for free. That's what I love about producing those videos and putting them on YouTube. But I would love for the course to live on like an actual platform where you could consume it like a course, you know what I mean? And that there could also possibly be exercises in between the episodes, like little quizzes or something like that, or develop some kind of workbook to go along with it. These are all ideas that are floating in my head. Because a lot of people really responded to the teaching style of my tutorials, especially the Ableton and the music theory series. So I want to distill that down into something that lives beyond just a YouTube video, if that makes sense. Oh, John says, I have the TR8s and love it. For me, it's the best drum machine out there. I've been having a lot of fun just jamming with it, for sure. For sure. Oh, does Disclosure do a lot of streaming? I didn't know that, Krios, but they use Logic. That's interesting to know. Do they exclusively use Logic, or they just use it for some things? Leah says, I love Ableton and recently used Logic Pro for iPad, and I liked it. That's what I'm saying. If it's just by convenience of being on the iPad, I think that's great. Oh, I have some stickers in my pocket, chat. From a previous outing. Check this out. So there's a very cool place out here where it's an arcade, and it's called a toy museum, basically. So what it is you pay at the door. They've got like every retro old toy action figures of every theme: Star Wars, G.I. Joe, X-Men, all the Marvel stuff or whatever, and they've got them all out on display. But in those displays, and then they also have arcade games. So you just pay at the door, you can play all the arcade games for free. They also have every old console and even like old Windows computers where you can play games on. When you go through it, there's a scavenger hunt as well. So you have to find different things in the toy museum. And one of the rewards for doing the scavenger hunt was getting these stickers. That's too bright. Darn it. Let's switch to this camera here. We've got Marvel stickers. They also had like little Pokemon figurines, which I thought were very cool too. So that's just a little aside. All right, let's bang through these questions, and I'm going to jump into doing the news, chat. Thanks. I'm really stoked everybody is down to have some good chats today. That's what this is all about. I mean, I could just make a video and talk about things, but the live stream is all about y'all asking questions and us having an actual conversation. Oh, people asking for Logic. Oh, Nefertiti Gold is a certified Logic lover for life. Good to know. Good to know. I also saw a couple. The Studio One people always pop up. Oh, Bobby's leaving Studio One. Kyle says, I had Studio One, didn't like it. John says, I use Studio One, but basically only use it for recording jam sessions. Interesting. Logic Pro is also priced very reasonably. It is crazy that a fully featured DAW only costs $200. That's what I'm saying. So they're obviously, that's what I'm saying about the Apple factor. They're obviously offsetting a lot of the cost of what it takes to develop that by virtue of being Apple. When you look at a company like Ableton, not to make excuses, but they're like an independent company. So what their product needs to cost in order for it to be developed is... Can't just say, oh, we sold a bunch of iPhones over here, so let's make the music software less expensive. Ennis. Oh, gosh. Ennis, hello, everybody. After seeing Music Theory and Ableton for Beginners series, here I am while watching my first MIDI controller while waiting for my first MIDI controller to be delivered. Love your vids. No doubt that I'll love your streams, too. This MIDI controller thing, I'm telling you, chat, as much as I've regretted it in the past, I'm very close to making an updated MIDI controller video because the cycle is kind of continuing. And what I've realized about YouTube is that new beginners, people that want to make music, more people want to make music and discover that they want to make music every single day, so that incoming class of beginners is constantly being refreshed. And I think the last like MIDI controller overview video I made was a long time ago, when I still lived in Massachusetts. So I think I need to make an updated one because that's how people are going to find it. Oh, wait. I saw a YouTube video from a guy who used AI to create some music, which he used as a starting point for a track. He ended up getting 4 copyright strikes on the stream. Very interesting. So interesting. Udemy would be a good platform. There's a bunch of teaching platforms out there. I'm curious if anybody else out here has taken an online course through any online platforms that they liked. Keezy Level giving some feedback on the course. Course is perfect. If you had a video more on what instruments you can use to achieve desired genres, what bass, what drums, maybe even releasing your own pack with a walkthrough. That could be an interesting idea because sound selection is very, very important, and I feel like people struggle with it. That mostly comes down to critical listening, though. You should be able to listen to a song in any genre and pick out the characteristics of all the parts. It's not always that easy, but the more you make music, the more you get like the terminology, and you can learn to understand what these instruments actually are. What genres do you personally listen to? I listen to K-pop. I listen to K-pop music. I listen to ambient music. I listen to some like pop, rock, indie stuff. I would say 99.9% of my listening is K-pop. A request from Pascal. I'm thinking to get the Launch Key XL. What's the Launch Key XL? Do you mean Launch Control XL? For the Seek track. How many MIDI controllers can we run into the Seek track? Can we essentially get TR8s level of control plus full DX synth with controls? That's a good question. You've got the MIDI input and you've got the USB input. I haven't attempted to try using them simultaneously. I suppose you could use them simultaneously, and I also believe there are devices out there that help you split your MIDI signal, so I assume you could use more than one controller. But you're going to have USB controllers, it sounds like, so you're going to have to figure out a way to do that. I don't know if using a USB hub will work with multiple controllers either. That is all to be tested, but I think that what you're getting onto is a very, very key, interesting thing about the Seek track. I think you could probably pull that off. I know what you mean about the TR8s kind of effect, where it's like this drum machine here, where it's like you have control over every single drum's level, control like some effect, the decay, the tuning. It's like all hands-on control. That's what I really love about the TR8s and why I really wanted to try it out. Isn't Donner a Chinese synth drum machine company? I remember the B1 is supposed to be a 303 clone, but it is not available in lots of places. Yeah, I have the B1. It's similar to the 303. Donner makes lots of stuff. They make pedals, they make MIDI controllers, they make this drum machine now. So this is their first foray, I think. It's like a drum machine for beginners, so it's kind of cool. I'm kind of in drum machine mode. I got the TR8s, I got the D1. It's like, so it's kind of two extremes. TRS being like super advanced, the D1 being more beginner focused, so limited in that respect. So I'm trying to like reconcile the two. I don't know that there are. Can anybody think of a beginner friendly drum machine? Like, are there many drum machines that are built for beginners out there? I think with hardware specifically, like with MIDI controllers, it's easy. It's like buy the MIDI controller, you get some software that comes with it, and it'll all work nicely together. But with hardware, I feel like hardware is generally more complex. And I don't know how much beginner hardware synths and drum machines there are. It always seems like very intimidating, I feel. So I thought when Donna reached out and was like, do you want to make content for the D1, beginner-based drum machine? I thought, it's very interesting. Beyond like groove boxes and stuff, I feel like groove boxes get complicated too. What's up, Miss Nadia? Thank you. Need that music theory series in Spanish. I tried to do I got that first chapter captioned. You saw it, Miss Nadia. So, and you gave it like a not perfect score. So it's difficult. It's difficult to just get it translated because it's also like musical terms. Translation is a whole thing. It's not just as easy as plugging in the text and then getting it translated. There's like nuance there. I need a tutorial on starting with a MIDI controller, beginner. Juan, I hear you loud and clear. I think I do need to revisit some beginner MIDI controller content. I've been away from it for too long, and I know many people found my videos from it. I think what if I made like a MIDI controller series? Does that make sense? Because that's why I think the Theory series and the Ableton Live series work so well. It's like a continuous block of videos. Whereas all the MIDI controller content that I've done in the past has been just kind of like random one-offs and stuff. But I don't know what that would look like. Like I've considered like, do I do a beginner tutorial for every MIDI controller? Maybe? Maybe yes? By the way, let me show you this because I forgot I even did this. So Amazon has this thing called like influencer storefronts. And a while back, they put out a call to like, if you want to create short comparison videos for your Amazon storefront, they pay like a small commission or whatever. So I did that, and I did in one day. I'll give a link in the description. So I banged out a bunch of comparisons in one day. So I've got all of these like this or that comparisons on my Amazon storefront. I don't know if this is interesting to anybody, but if you would like to see a bunch of these gear comparisons, I just went hard and did every possible combination and made like 1 to 3 minute videos based on that. And I forgot that I did this. So if that's interesting to anybody, I will share it to you now. And let me make sure that link's going to work. Yes. Okay. So there's a link in the description. But it's just funny as we think, I watched a few of those. How do you find those? See, that's what I don't understand. How did you find them, Kayla? Do they just pop up in your search, in your Amazon search? I don't know. It's a very weird thing. Very weird thing to do. Reminder that Nightbot has just posted the past stream playlist link. A lot of times these streams, I unlist them as to not clog up your feed. So after they're live, they become unlisted. And then you can go to that playlist and still watch them. It's not like they're private or anything. They just won't pop up on your dashboard. Tom offers some MIDI advice. It's been a minute since I looked, but I think as long as your device can see different MIDI channels, then you can attach multiple devices to it, each inbound device on its own MIDI channel. Yes, that is the tip for anybody trying to use multiple controllers with the SeekTrack. My only concern there, what I haven't tried, is how much the USB port can receive. I don't know. I don't know if that's a real thing. Oh, it was connected to my link tree on IG. I got it. Oh, I got it. Okay, the storefront. That makes sense. Thank you, Kayla. Josh says, I want Donner's Arena 3000 pedals so bad. I just have a bunch of other things to buy before I pull the trigger. I hear you. The shopping list is never ending. John says, to me, a drum machine looks more intimidating than it is. I can't explain the basics to my friends in 15 minutes and they can jam away. Yeah, I agree. That's true. But when you start to get into like shift functions, once you learn the basic mechanics of a machine, like with the TR8s, I got to hold the shift and I got to go to the pattern settings. Once you learn those basic mechanics, it starts to get very easy. I already follow your Amazon page. Did not realize. Wow. Good to know. The truth about those videos is they were offering like a commission per video for this campaign, and then I submitted all these videos and like they only approved half of them for like the campaign, and it's Amazon, so I wasn't like working with a person. So I was like, okay, never again. But at least they're there and informational. But I did feel like I kind of got screwed out of some commission payment there. Not a big deal, though. What's your wishes for a MIDI workstation, like from Native Instruments or Novation, maybe touchscreen, etc.? I don't know that a touchscreen is helpful. Well, a touchscreen is, of course, nice on other devices. I don't know that a MIDI controller needs to have a touchscreen. I feel like that's going to add complication. I think Bluetooth should become more and more the standard. You know, having the ability to connect via Bluetooth or connect via USB. I think those are essential. Bluetooth going forward should be a standard. Then power becomes an issue, but also portability is important. I've been revisiting the Arturia Mini Lab. The software integration on it is pretty great, but it's also one of the chunkiest of the new class of MIDI controllers. So if I'm going to travel with something, I'm likely to not grab the Mini Lab off the bat. So portability is important to me. And of course, I'm speaking now about mini MIDI controllers. There's also gigantic MIDI controllers. MPE and Aftertouch is also great, but don't get sucked in too much. Like, how often are you really going to use MPE and Aftertouch? It's a nice thing to have, but I don't think it's a requirement. Although, I think as the technology grows, it'll be more and more standard. So what's my wish? One, like, simplified control. Like, having 16 pads on the Novation launch key is fantastic. But also, having a selection of faders and knobs on the Mini Lab is also fantastic. I don't know. I do wish some MIDI controllers would add more step sequencing capability. So more pads, more possibly smaller pads, so that you could do step sequences easily. Possibly. Launch key had space for faders? Maybe the bigger ones, sure. But remember, folks, you're not going to be using these faders. You're not going to be like mixing in your DAW with faders, really. That's why the Mini Lab works well, because you just go to any track and you have control over the volume. But you're not going to get like a Launch Control XL and mix like a classical mixing desk. It's just not how real life works. All right, we'll come back to Q&A in a bit. We are just past the top of the hour. Let me hit y'all with some news, and then we will get into some gear talk. Okay. First of all, I'm personally getting scammed by Spotify, even though I'm not, and I'll tell you why. But here's what's up. Oh, what's up? The gig is up. Nice to see you. Let's get into the news. Not deep dives into the news today, just a few quick headlines that I think are interesting. Spotify, did anybody buy one of these? The Spotify car thing. Did anybody buy a Spotify car thing? Raise your hand if you did. I'm raising my hand because I did buy a Spotify car thing. I owned an older car. My van is old. It's like a 2010. So it doesn't have the fancy CarPlay that a lot of cars have now. You know, a lot of cars have the touch screen with the streaming service integration or whatever. So I bought one of these when it first came out. It was like $90 or whatever, and it served me quite well over the years. It's nice because it's not really that amazing piece of technology. It just connects to your phone via Bluetooth, but you still have to connect an audio cable and you still have to power it via USB. But whatever, what it allowed me to do is have Spotify open. I could talk to it and say, hey, Spotify, and change the song and everything. But it was also a dedicated device to like skip a song or go through playlists or whatever. Meanwhile, I would have maps open on my phone, so I wouldn't have to fiddle with my phone while driving. Music controls all right there. Okay, anyway. So this was like a big experiment for them. This was essentially like a beta product. And they are discontinuing it, but not only are they discontinuing it, they're going to brick it after December. So it's just not going to work anymore, which isn't that relevant to me because I don't use Spotify anymore. But it is kind of shitty. It's not that old of a product. So people put together a class action lawsuit over this, which I think is very, very interesting. Because they did not initially have any plans to offer a refund, which like I'm on the fence about. It's like, all right, I bought this product not that long ago, I guess. It is strange that they're bricking it. I guess they don't want to support it anymore. So they're facing a class action lawsuit, but they have decided to start issuing refunds, which is very interesting. So I already got my refund for the car thing. But what is very interesting, chat, is I got my refund for the car thing and got the full cost refunded. But initially, they send me this super sketchy email from Spotify support that says, okay, send all your banking information and send a screenshot of your online banking information for our accounting purposes. And I was like, that's super sketchy, number one, just sending all my bank information via email. Number two, I didn't pay via my bank. I paid via PayPal. So I was like, I want my refund from the same payment source that I got. So whatever, they said they were unable to do that. And then I also said, or you can send a check. Plain and simple. So it seems like they're trying to make people just jump through a bunch of hoops. $1 billion company, by the way, making people jump through a bunch of hoops just to get their refund. What worked out for me is they said, oh, it looks like you have these past payments on your account for your Spotify family plan from when I was subscribed to Spotify. And they said, okay, what if we just refund your last 6 Spotify payments, which comes out to equal to actually maybe a little more than the total price I paid. And they did that. So that worked out well. Why they can do that and not just refund the car thing purchase, I have no idea. But they basically refunded like 6 of my past Spotify subscription payments. Seems like an ass backwards way to do it, but it was definitely better than sending them a bunch of my bank information via email. And then they're going to get hacked, just like Ticketmaster. Whatever. So whatever, if you do have a car thing, just know you can contact support and get a refund. Curious to see if that affects the class action lawsuit. Probably will, right? They sent you 2 for super cheap. That's very interesting. Yeah, I think they were just trying to get rid of them. Such e-waste. I agree. It's like, don't put out a product and then just brick it. Either just let people continue to use it or figure out something. Like do a return program where you can recycle the components. Whatever. I don't know. What do I use instead of Spotify? I use YouTube Music now, which works quite well. There should be some law against this kind of practice. We don't need more bricked devices in the world. I think it's very unusual. I don't know how many devices that get discontinued actually get bricked. Like even old phones don't get bricked. They just can't run the latest operating system usually, right? So I wonder if there already is some law and regulation that Spotify is skirting. Maybe some law and regulation that phone companies are beholden to that maybe Spotify is not. Okay, I have another Spotify story for you, but I'm going to skip that for now to not be all about Spotify all the time and just bring up this article right here. Sony Music sues the Marriott hotels for alleged rampant copyright infringement in social media posts. This is very, very interesting, and I can't even read this article. Dang it, I already read it though. All right, so what this is, I can bring up another version of the article anyway. What this is, chat, is when you go on TikTok or if you go on Instagram Reels and you want to make a TikTok or an Instagram Reel, there's a bunch of music there for you to use, right? And you, just being a person, just being a normal person, not a company, not, a giant corporation, you use that music and you make your videos. Well, what makes that different from a TV show, say, or a commercial that's going to air on TV using that same music? Well, of course, if you're using it for business purposes, it is a completely different thing. The line has just been blurred on social media, unfortunately. So, Sony Music has filed a lawsuit against the Marriott Hotel for willful infringement of copyright in social media posts. Basically, they're using a bunch of their music in sponsored content on social media. This is where this kind of gray area of what's okay to use and what infringes on copyrights is kind of becoming more and more clear the more and more it gets abused. The complaint says Sony has identified 931 infringements in its sound recordings, including works by Beyonce, Harry Styles, Britney Spears, Mariah Carey, Michael Jackson, Miley Cyrus, Shakira, and Doja Cat. Of those alleged infringements, 913 were in social media posts made by hotels owned, managed, or franchised by Marriott, while another 18 were from social media influencers paid by Marriott. So most of these posts that are using copyright music, it's like you just go on TikTok, you go on Reels, and you just use a Beyonce song. Like, it's that easy. The problem is if Marriott Hotel of South Carolina or whatever decides to make a social media account and post Reels, and they start using that music, then it's technically an infringement of copyright. But that's crazy, right? Because it's so easy to do for a business. And I think in the past, the music companies haven't really cracked down on it, but it sounds like this is the beginning of tightening the grip on copyrights when it comes to music and these social media sites. So it's interesting to me that the majority of these posts were literally posted by the hotels themselves, and only 18 of them were like brand campaigns with an influencer. So meaning like Marriott Hotel hires some influencer to come stay at their hotel and make a TikTok about their stay, and then they use a Harry Styles song in that sponsored content. Only 18 of them, those infringements, were that, which I think is very interesting. It's almost similar in nature to how Netflix all of a sudden is like no more password sharing. They're cracking down on something. Like something was allowed to happen for a while, and now finally folks are cracking down on it. So I think we're going to start to see changes in the social media space, in what music gets used in certain things. Record companies are not going to be so cool with Instagram and TikTok users just being able to use their music willy-nilly, especially for sponsored posts, especially businesses making these pages. Like, there needs to be some kind of verification on that. And there have been previous cases of this. In 2021, it launched a lawsuit against Gymshark, alleging that the fitness apparel brand had infringed the copyright of 297 recordings on its ads. So where does this stop, chat? If you're a one-person show, I'm a sole proprietor. Say instead of being a music maker, I make clay pots. So if I make clay pot videos and I sell clay pots, if I do an Instagram reel of me making my clay pots and I use a Harry Styles song, is that copyright infringement? I think essentially what this lawsuit is saying is yes. But of course, they're only going to go after these bigger brands that have more rampant infringement. Like even this brand Gymshark, which I've never heard of, maybe they're a big brand. infringed on the copyright of 297 recordings. So that's crazy. They settled out of court, so we don't even know the outcome of that. But there was a settlement. So it's very interesting. What do we think about this one, chat? Interesting guess. They thought they found a deep pocket and revenue stream they can squeeze for. I agree, but it's also within their right. I think the record label is correct. If you out there, you're making your music, you own the copyright to it, and then all of a sudden you turn on the TV and BMW is using your music in a commercial, but they didn't get the rights properly, you might just be a little excited because they used your music. However, you have to realize that BMW is a company that's going to sell cars based on using your music in the commercial. No, of course, nobody's buying a car based on the music in the commercial, but their use of it is ultimately leading to commerce. So I think the record companies are in the right here. Of course, as you would want to defend your copyright, if you think, instead of thinking Beyonce, Harry Styles, whatever, think about any small artists that you know. If their copyright was infringed, we would be on their side too. Let the sharks eat each other? Yeah, sure, I guess. But that kind of law and precedent is important for all of us, just so you all know. I know we talk a lot of shit about record companies and big companies here or whatever, but copyright protections and case law when case law actually gets made in some of these cases, it's good for all of us because it sets a precedent. All right, last article, and then we'll get into gear talk. My friend Daniel never ceases to disappoint. Of course, my friend Daniel, with his takes, he's never been more disconnected than he is now. Music fans and artists hit back at Spotify. CEO claims that the cost of creating content is close to zero. Oh boy. All right. So, hold on. Let me just do that. Okay. So, Daniel Ek, billionaire CEO of Spotify, goes on Twitter to say, today, with the cost of creating content being close to zero, people can share an incredible amount of content. This has sparked my curiosity about the concept of long shelf life versus short shelf life. This just the first sentence is incendiary, chat. The cost of creating content being close to zero. He's so disconnected. Of course, what he means is that, okay, now versus the 80s, I can make a hit record in my bedroom versus going to the record store to make a record, versus going to the studio to make a record. Sure, if you want to relate it to that, whatever. Secondly, we all have phones that we can shoot videos with, etc., etc. The problem is the context in which this statement is being made. This statement is being made by a billionaire CEO, not just any billionaire CEO, but a billionaire CEO whose company's main revenue source is the exploitation of the labor of creatives. You see why this context, like, you might be able to, in a vacuum, a random person saying like, oh, it's cheaper than ever to make content. You can just use a phone. You can just use your app or whatever to make music, make a movie, whatever. That is truthful. However, the context through which this is coming to us has to be addressed and is very, very, very important. Especially since Daniel Ek's company is not in the business really of creating content. They do not create really intellectual property, the intellectual property that they then sell back. They instead aggregate it. So it's very interesting just to hear him commenting on how easy, or how the cost is at close to zero for creating music or creating content. And also he is not taking into account time, of course. He's taking into account cost, which you could say, yes, it costs very little to make, whatever, a movie these days, make it on your iPhone. However, the time for an average pleb like you and me, who have to actually work for our money and can't just base our net worth on our stock holdings and borrow against that, we actually have to put money in our bank accounts and spend money or borrow money against the actual money that we have, not like this fake money that CEOs and venture capitalists get to sort of bet on in their daily lives. So overall, just tone deaf. However, he goes on to talk about the idea of lasting ideas with a short shelf life or a long shelf life. Much of what we see and hear quickly becomes obsolete. There and timeless ideas or even pieces of music that can remain relevant for decades or even centuries. Tom says, talk about tone deaf. Exactly. The resurgence of Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius' insights resonating thousands of years later. This makes me wonder, what are the unintuitive yet enduring ideas that aren't frequently discussed today but might have a long shelf life? Also, what are we creating now that will be valued and discussed hundreds of years or thousands of years from today? Really important point that Daniel makes here. So let's break it down. Daniel, you are the CEO of Spotify, a music streaming site, a site that artists pretty much universally rail against in terms of how much they are compensated for their art, for their work being on your site. Do you think, Daniel, that what you're creating now will be valued hundreds or thousands of years from now? Let's consider that, because I believe if every CEO or if every person who wants to start a business could at least think from this perspective, this question that you bring up, which is very, very important, is what we're creating going to be valued 100 years from now? Let's think about that. And if we think about that in terms of the longevity of the music industry or the history of the music industry, we can pretty much have a fair assessment to say that, no, Daniel, what you're creating will not be valued 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. It's barely even valued now. Consider that, my friend. You are going to go down in history as another Napster. You are just going to go down in history as another exploitative factor of the music industry. It's not like you're creating something profound here. So it's very ironic and tone deaf for you to comment on the cost of creating being close to zero. That's tone deaf on its own level. But then to also ask this question about if what we're creating now has some value for 100 years from now, especially when your business is all about playlisting and what's new and what's now, and when it's not culturally relevant anymore as deemed by your editorial playlists, it gets kicked off of the playlist and in with the new, in with the next song of the week. So even ask from a concept perspective, does the product you create actually serve this ideology that you're trying to promote or value here? The idea that we should create things that have lasting longevity. Does what you create actually align with that, Daniel? You have to ask yourself that. There is no objective scenario. If I was going to be kind to Daniel, I would say the millions of Spotify users value Spotify because they have instant access to the music that they love. Okay, let's say that. But what happens when the bottom falls out of this? People loved Napster because it gave them instant access to the music they love. People loved LimeWire because it gave them instant access to the music they love. What's the through line problem between every issue that the music industry has ever faced? The through line problem is the exploitation of the labor of the workers who actually supply the value for the music industry, aka the music creators. That's what it is, my friend. So, answer your own question. Is what you're creating even promoting this value that things we create should have a longevity, should last hundreds and thousands and make an impact years and years later? Should we all be striving for that? I think yes. However, does what you create live up to that standard? Does it even promote that standard in other artists? Or does it actually promote the opposite? Does it actually promote creating the next song of the week, creating the next song that gets playlisted? Is the song that gets playlisted a song that's going to last for 100 years, or is it just going to last as long as it's on that playlist and as long as your Spotify editorial playlisters decide to take it off? It's a question for you, Daniel. Damn, Daniel. Sorry for the little rant there. I just had to pop off just a little bit. Wants to talk longevity when they're dumping their own devices after how long? You're right. That's so true, Beta Run. Thank you. Yes, I didn't even make that connection. I'd like to see his expense reports for content creation. That's true. How much does it cost to produce Spotify Wrapped every year, I wonder? It's got to be cheap. In fact, if content creation is so cheap, Daniel, then I think instead of raising your prices year after year, you should just keep your prices the same or possibly lower your prices if it's so cheap to make content and do marketing. I thought this was going to be taken out of context from a shareholder meeting. The fact he's just tweeting that is wild. He must think very highly of himself. I do think there is some kind of brain rot that happens when you either reach a certain level of fame or a certain level of wealth where you just lose all connection to what is actually happening in the world. You lose all sense of self-awareness. And I think it probably comes from the conditions of, like, if you achieve a certain status of fame or a certain status of wealth, people treat you a certain way. And if you're surrounded by people who kind of treat you like you're a genius or treat you like you're a god, that affects how you view the world. It's scary. It's scary because obviously wealth is rewarded in our society, and the wealthiest become the leaders of our society rather than the those that are in it to help people, I guess. Break a device and then talk about longevity. Thank you, Beta Run and Groovin DJ, making a connection that I never would have made. If Daniel were to choke on a piece of shrimp, I'm sure it would be funny 100 years from now. No comment. I certainly would not invest in Spotify. That's a good point. I mean, if you invested in Spotify now, it's probably a good bet for the next, 3 to 5 years at least. Beyond that, I can't see. This is the most priceless thing we all have. You cannot get it back. How can one not realize the investment for music or any art, hobby, etc. from time? They don't see it, my friend, because the numbers go up. As long as I get more money in my wallet today, who cares if your song is popular tomorrow? Don't you get it? I need money today. It's my money and I need it now. What's up, Bean? GG. What's good, Bean? Damn, Daniel, back at it again. Honest feedback isn't a rant. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Hi, Chocomega. Hello. How's the poll doing? Okay, let's close the poll. We're an hour into today's stream. I want to thank you all for watching. We just covered a little bit of news. We did a little bit of Q&A at the top. We are going to switch gears now and talk about gear. We're going to switch gear and talk about gear. So I've got a bunch of gear here, new gear off to the side, not the 404 or the mini lab, but I've got TR8s, I've got the IRAs, I've got an Easyplay 1, and I've got the Donner D1 drum machine. We are going to just give little glances into some of this stuff, and we're going to look at all this new tech, but I do want to run to the bathroom before we do that, so I can give you guys an uninterrupted gear talk experience. So instead of me just going to the bathroom and you all looking at a blank chair, let me throw on some tunes for you for a second. A video, perhaps. Let me throw on... sorry, I'm having trouble finding YouTube. TAETRO House music. I will play you all the latest house music set or house music track that I created with the Astrolab and Push 3. Then when I come back, I'll be back in less than a minute. We will talk all about gear. So hang tight, don't go anywhere. I'll be back in less than 1 minute. Enjoy the music. Hello, I'm back. Sorry, I forgot to unmute my mic. Hopefully if you were taking your bathroom break as well, you're back now. Am I muted still? I should be back now. Okay. Sorry. I'm back. Hello.
Hello? Is anybody there? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Are you there?
I had a lot of fun making that. Thank you for the compliment, Krios. Yeah, I loved making that. That bass line especially, I had a lot of fun making that. Wow. Okay. Did I talk about the S1 yet? No, I did not. Trey, I hope you're still here. I hope you didn't go after my bathroom break. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to get into the IRAs because they won the poll. Right? The IRAs were number 1. Wow, TR8s in last. I'm very surprised by that. Y'all never cease to surprise me. CK says, love the Carhartt shirt. Suits you really nicely. Thank you. My wife got me this shirt for my birthday. I love this shirt too. I'm a big Carhartt fan. All right, you're here. Trey is here. Great. We're going to look at the J6 first because I'm most familiar with the J6. So let me get all set up with gear as long as... What the heck was that? Okay, anyway. Sorry about that. Let's do a quick first look. Now, I want to remind everybody, we're going to look at gear today. However, the gear that we are going to be exploring today, all of the gear that's in the list, I am pretty much brand new to all of this gear. So do not expect me to give you expert opinions or know-how on how to use this equipment, etc. Please, these are just first impressions, okay? Capiche? All right. You got married? I didn't know. Congratulations. I'm not married yet. I just hate the term fiancé. I'll be married soon, chat. One interesting thing about these Roland IRAs is the mix output on the top. Is there logic to that I don't understand, chat? I for so long didn't put a zoom lens on this camera here, but it makes so much more sense. Thank you to everybody. I'll be married soon. Don't worry. I'll keep you all filled in on that. Did I see a new Donner device? Yes, we've got the Donner D1 drum machine here. I've got the Roland TR8s. We've got these IRAs. So let's kick things off with the IRAs. So Roland was like, did you ever try these? And I was like, no, I never did. So they sent me a couple that they thought I would like. First one here being the J6, which is a chord instrument. Now listen to how good this sounds right out the box. Let me turn the sound on. Is the Donner available? I don't believe it's available currently. I think it's coming. I'm working on a video for the launch. I don't know when the launch is. Check this out, chat. Rich sound and such a fun form factor. I agree. That's kind of what blew me out of the water first on my first impression with this. So anyway, there's all these sounds here. So let's skim through a bunch of different sounds. I can also turn off the... Now we're just going to play chords. And then I want to turn the reverb down and delay down as well. And I just want to demo some sounds for you all. So earlier it was playing a pattern, which we can turn that back on. So we've got different synth sounds as well as the ability to play chords, which are all in key, which is a huge thing. But also, it's kind of like a little bit of a sneaky, like, just good overall synth because you can turn chord mode off. So whereas this thing sounds great in its chord mode, that's like its big draw, we can also play single notes. And then we can turn chord back on. And it's got like some really simple controls on it. So we've got filter, which I was already playing with. We've got envelope, which this is like a single knob, which does attack and release. Let me change sounds. Is it actually doing something to the attack? Let's see. That's a very hard attack sound. Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a attack release knob that way. How's my overhead camera? Is it too dark? Do we need more light on the device, or can you all see fine? My hands are just getting in the way. The meaning of fun size. I was trying to think of a show concept for this channel where I could do just small gear. Like, what would be a good small gear concept for a show? Cool. Okay, so that's filter and envelope. We also have delay. Reverb. All right, you can see it fine. Thank you for letting me know. You can also shift and twist those. Tell me which one am I shifting and twisting? Yes, if any of you have any of these devices we talk about today, please be the experts in the chat. Like I said, this is my first impressions of most of this stuff. So on the chord button, we have a shift function, which is genre. This is going to give us different voicings. So different modes, different types of chords from different genres. There's a list of these in the manual. Very like classical. Let's do a little filter. So all that to say is you have different chord types, which I think is cool. You're not just stuck with one voicing. Looks very approachable. I agree. It is pretty approachable. There's a sequencer in here too. That's the thing I have the least experience with at the moment. Let's see if we can change patterns. Oh, sorry. So patterns when we're working on the Roland J-6, patterns contain a sequence, and the sound and the actual note pattern is what is tied to a pattern. And the style, I guess style is the... Sorry, let's turn this on. We hit on here. And these are our types of... Sorry, I'm wrong. The style here, yes, different kinds of like patterns for the chords. And then we have different variations within that. Let's switch sounds now. So I like having all that level of control. I still have to play with these different styles of arpeggiation, basically, to find ones that I really like. But just being able to go from having a normal synth, then hitting chord, picking whatever voicings you want for that, which, by the way, you can shift octaves. And then basic filter and envelope editing, etc. And then Complexica says, I use it as a MIDI controller for my plugins. Very cool. I agree. I think there's a lot of value in having a little device that can do chords like this so easily, especially in being able to record sequences. So right now we're recording a sequence. Or not recording, we're listening to a sequence. Very fun, right? And then I should also note that these things are battery powered and you can charge them via USB. Very up my alley in terms of a simple little device that is actually very powerful and has a very good sound and also very simply designed. It's got kind of like one job that it does really well. It's got MIDI in and out here. It's got sync in and out, mix in and out. I don't know what is there like a through mix on this? I don't know why there's an input mix. Somebody can hit me to that possibly. Very poppy situation right there. So these are part of a whole series of devices. Roland sent me 2 of them. This next one they sent me is the Roland S-1. I don't know what the draw of this one is. I know some of you were already talking about it in chat. So if you want to hit me to this, what's the main? Why do people love the S1? Bobby says it seems like the IRAs and the TR6/8s have similar anatomy, notes and patch. Yes, I think in spending time with a bunch of these Roland devices, I can see they've got a bit of an ecosystem going on here. Let's switch over now to the S1. It's my first time playing with the S1, so please bear with me. All right, let's see first impressions here. My first impressions is I can't make any sound because the volume is turned down. That's the number one thing. This is a what's polyphonic synth? Okay. Am I affecting that with velocity? No, I think that's just an envelope. Good answer to my question. CK says the audio that's input to the mix in jack on the J6 is output to mix out jack only and is not output to the USB port. Got it. Yeah, Roland's killing it with having these devices be USB audio as well. I'm obviously using it with an audio cable at the moment, but you can modulate it by waving it around. Waving what around? The device? Hold D motion while moving. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is real? That is pretty cool. Hold on, chat. That is pretty fancy, huh? What a cool thing that I would have never expected to be on one of these little devices. D-motion. Wow, and the first note is B. What's up with that, chat? Oh. Alright, it's a lot going on in here. So this device also has a sequencer. I pretty much figured that from looking at it. So here we have LFO, the LFO rate. Very cool. What do we have here? This is going to be our octave, which is titled range. So I am wondering, okay, we have full envelope control here as well. Release. Wow, so beautiful. All right, and then we also have the EFX. You can already hear some delay. Wow, whoa, that reverb is dope. It's like a plate reverb or something on there. It's got that super bright stuff on top. Frequency of the filter, resonance, LFO, envelope. Great. So this is a kind of synth where I'm not switching between sound presets. Am I correct or am I wrong? That's my tempo. I'm kind of just designing the sound here on the synth. Yeah, because there I can go across the different wave types. I have to keep referencing it like this. Okay, what is this here? Turn on sub for fat bass, says Pascal. Okay, let's do that. Turn on sub. Of course, I know how to turn on sub. I'm looking at the device right now. I'm going to find the sub button, which is not a button at all. It's a knob. I knew that. Oh. Now, I bet if I go an octave down by holding shift, octave down. Oh, yeah. Go one more octave down. Get that attack. Wow. Okay, really, really cool. So I guess what I'm gathering is that these are all meant to be kind of like chained together and connected in some way. That's why they have the mix in and out. So I'm assuming the mix in and out logic is the same across all these devices, that you can run the mix from one into another one, the mix out into another one, etc. And you could just chain them all together, right? Or of course you could get a mixer or whatever. Did you get the mini drum one too? No, these are the only two that I have currently. This is my first dipping the toe in the water of the IRAs. UO Sizzle says, Tatro. Yes, my friend. Nice to see you. Welcome. Thank you for being here. What do we think of this one, chat? These look fun. I want these. Try the shift button. What do I do with the shift button? I definitely selected something on the shift button. Oh, I know. I can see all the shift functions here. Very cool. Yeah, the next step for me on these is learning a bit about the sequencing. The sequencing is probably the most complex of these little devices. So far, the sound design is obviously very intuitive. You got your envelope, you've got your oscillator there, you've got the filter, you got the LFO, and you've got your waveform as well. Wait, interesting. Oh, that's the LFO waveform. I get it now. Let's go up an octave. Wow, wow, wow. So much fun. Does anybody want me to press any buttons before we move on from the S1? Because this is obviously a lot of fun. I guess I should start putting together a video for these soon. Amazing machine, says Toby. The S1 sounds so good, says Levi Cole. Yes. It's almost like I need both of these. Definitely cool. It has no business sounding as good as it toes. You heard it from Levi first. There were no corrections in the chat. Levi meant what he said. No business sounding as good as it toes. They're addictive, yes. Shift plus delay or reverb. Okay. That's reverb time. Got it. So that's how we do timing. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And then delay time, obviously. Wait, right? Am I doing that correctly? Shift delay. That's a little confusing menu there. 64, 32 triplet, 64 dotted, 16th triplet. Oh, okay, I think I understand. I definitely don't understand what's happening with the delay. Whoa. There, yeah, there's a quarter note, right? I obviously just made this like super dirty, crunchy sound, but I would love to use this for some ambient stuff. And I think a controller in conjunction with this would go a really long way. That's very exciting. I'm glad we got to experience that together, chat. There's 3 more pieces of gear, so I'm just going to go in the order of the poll. Actually, what I really wanted to do, chat, let's not move from the S1. I think y'all are having a good time with that, but now what happens when we combine with the hologram pedal, which I never remember if the company's name is Microcosm or if the company's name is Hologram. But I believe the company's name is Hologram, and this pedal is called a Microcosm. I know that. I'm a professional music tech YouTuber. Okay, let me kill the effects and stuff on this. Let's get kind of a basic sound going here. Open that filter back up. And let's go into the hologram microcosm. Sorry, a little hot signal there. Let's do a reverse sound on the microcosm. And let's find a little bit of a more interesting. Turn the space up here. Oh, what a beautiful sound we had there for a minute. I'm just going to crank the mix all the way up so we hear only the process sound. How did we get that very ominous sound all of a sudden? Oh, because I have something going on with the LFO, I believe. right. Oh, I'm glad we did that. That was a fun experiment. I could sit here and sample that for days and days and days. What do we think of that sound? I run through VST to get similar effects. Yes, you can definitely recreate some of the magic of the Microcosm with effects, with VSTs. These kind of sounds always remind me of indie games like Fez, Tunic, and others. Yes, those games are great at creating a mood, so I also love that kind of music. Complexica says, reminds me of the 1010 Nanobox sound, the yellow one. Yeah, that's a granular synth, and the Microcosm does a lot of granular processing. Sorry, not annual. Celestine Prof, what's up? Thank you for joining us. Says Happy Pride. Yes, Happy Pride, my friends. Happy Pride. Thank you for being here. Happy Pride. It takes all kinds here, all right? We celebrate you all. The gays. Happy Pride. I saw Diplo yesterday at Pride. Nice. Very cool. It is June. The year, we are 6 months into 2024, chat. Can you believe it? Okay. Let me double check my phone, make sure nobody is breaking into my house currently. Oh, no. Just the other person that lives here. Okay. Let's move on, chat. We could spend all day with this S1. So it sounds like the S1 is a popular one. It sounds like we should cover this more in the future. Too bright. Sorry, y'all. Sounds like we should cover this more in the future for sure. So stay tuned. I don't know what I'm going to make with this, but... Oh, that was cool. I unplugged the gear. We'll return to these. If you have more questions about these, or if you have ideas for what you'd like to see me do with them, or other gear you'd like to see me combine them with, please let me know. All right, let's move on to an easy one. Easy one, pun intended. This is a new one as of today. And then the full disclosure on this one is this is a Kickstarter campaign. So, of course, with all Kickstarter campaigns, back at your own risk. I've never really had any problems with any Kickstarters, though I haven't backed that many. But there is always the risk that when you support any Kickstarter campaign, that you just don't get the thing that you paid for. So if you're not down for that risk, just be aware. At least. So anyway, I was contacted by this company, and I made a short form video which went up today, which was sponsored by them. However, they don't have any say over what I'm saying over this thing. I created the video. They didn't have any editorial say over what the video was. Just posted it. So just like me using this today, I can say what I want about it. I don't care if you go and back it on Kickstarter. I don't want you guys to ever buy something that you see me using unless you think it's like something for you. And I never want to glaze up a device just because I'm getting sponsored from it. That's never my goal. But anyway, what we have here is the Easyplay 1S, which is sort of a little pocketable machine. That's the size of my hand, basically. Slightly reminiscent of the... is it here? I think it is here behind my monitor. Slightly reminiscent of the Off-Grid by Bird Kids, which unfortunately this company did not survive, unfortunately. But this is a great pocketable device as well that you can't get anymore. This is an example of a device I backed on Kickstarter as well. But this one has built-in sounds. So if you can hear, it's got built-in speakers. And you can jam with it, and you can change instruments. They've got a few MIDI, general MIDI. General MIDI sounds in there. I'm going to plug into the aux for now so you can hear what it sounds like through the speakers. But just know that it does not through the speakers, through the stream. But just know that, of course, it does have built-in speakers. So the sounds here are nothing to write home about, but they are the general MIDI sounds that you would see in something like the Akai MBK Mini Play. I think the magic of this controller is not solely in the fact that it has built-in sounds, but more in that you can use it as a very pocketable controller. And I know that some people, even with the MPK Mini Play, they are like, yeah, I do want a little device that just makes sound that I can just play like an instrument, and they're fine with the general MIDI sounds. So at first, I was perplexed by this instrument because what we're usually used to is the lowest note being here, and then we go up the grid in this way. That's not the case here. The lowest note is on the top. So we play it that way. And actually, I was thinking about this, and the 5-note grid makes sense for your hand, like traditional players. And you're hearing me mess up and play those accidentals. So you should notice that not only do we have these big round keys, but we also have these notes in between, which are also, which are the black keys on a piano. That analogy only works, though, when we're in C. So right now we're in the key of C. But we can transpose the instrument using this knob here. This knob is the octave knob, but if I press and turn it, I can just transpose it. So now I'm in B. So these keys are always a major scale, no matter what key you're in. So if I go to A flat, that is. But I would say the most interesting part about this device for me is the fact that it's a Bluetooth MIDI controller. So I'm only connected via audio here, which I can completely disconnect. But for a moment, what I'm going to do is just connect it to my computer via Bluetooth MIDI and just show that off a bit. All right, so we have connected via MIDI. Now I'm just going to load up a random drum kit. Now this is where things get interesting about the note arrangement. Let me just bring up a drift synth, actually. And the short that I posted today features... Actually, let me bring that up. The short that I posted today features a beat that I made with the Easyplay 1S. So I'm going to actually bring up that project here, or what I hope is that project. This might be a different song entirely. What do we think of this little thing here, by the way? This year is going by fast. That's not the right track. Pascal says, boo. Don't say boo. That's rude. We should be encouraging of all music tech companies, etc. Not all, but we should be encouraging of companies that are trying new form factors and doing something different than just making a keyboard. Not that there's anything wrong with just making keyboards, but let's put that into perspective. You know what I mean? I'm going to unplug the audio so you can see that I'm totally wireless here. Oh, but I also need to turn off the internal sounds. So now I'm just controlling Ableton Live instruments. And then I also created an instrument that we can play with chords as well. So if you look actually at my live set, so to get this one chord note thing, you can do this with any controller really, but it's especially useful for this one because I could play chords with multiple notes on this device, but I decided to make it just one note, one chord. And I did that using the scale and chord devices in live. It's actually the first time I used the scale aware feature in Live 12. So if you are looking to make a one note chord situation, but obviously you don't want every note to be a major chord, you want every chord to make sense in key. So my 6th note should be a minor chord, which it is. These are also what am I trying to say? These are 7th chords is what I'm trying to say. So here is every note that we have. We have our 3rd, our 5th, and our 7th. But since the scale device is coming first, it's making sure all of these notes are within the right key, the key of C major. I can do a little strum there as well. Do I notice any latency with Bluetooth? No. If I was noticing problems with the Bluetooth, I just wouldn't work with this. I wouldn't, I definitely wouldn't promote the controller if I was having any issues with latency. But I feel like many companies have this figured out by this point. Here we go. So if I was having latency problems, I would have had a very, very much trouble playing that rhythm in there. So that's just a little demo for you. Yeah, I haven't noticed any drops on this one, but most Bluetooth MIDI gear, you might get an occasional drop. Like maybe for me, what would be acceptable is like maybe a dropped note every half hour or something like that. But that's just a ballpark guess. With most of the gear, I can't really quantify it. I've had the occasional problem with some Bluetooth MIDI controllers, but for the most part, they've all got it figured out. So it's a MIDI controller. It's a little pocketable instrument. It's on Kickstarter. So, take it that with however many grains of salt you want. I will just let's do a quick experiment processing this one through the hologram. Microcosm. So I've got this sound, this flute sound. How do the knobs feel? They feel pretty standard. You can push them, and click them in, or you just turn them. So if I turn this one, it's going to change the instrument sound itself. But if I press and hold it, it's going to change the volume. Pitch does the octaves. Or it does the key. So here, once again, we've got Microcosm. Beautiful little soundscape here, I think. What did I do? Oh, it's just doing its thing. I'm going to switch sounds really quick. A lot of fun. It's cheating, I think, to run any instrument through the Microcosm hologram. But it goes to say, like, you see a device like this, it is interesting and cool that it has built-in sounds and speakers, and that could serve a purpose for some people. You could show up to a jam session with your friends or whatever and be like, hey, let me just hang out or whatever. How often does that happen? I'm not sure. You have to know about your situation. For me, obviously, that doesn't happen a lot. But seeing the possibilities of like, oh, if I combine this gear with this gear, can I do some cool stuff, even though these are just general MIDI sounds? All right. Anyway, that's that. Easyplay 1S. I've got a short form video up right now on Instagram and YouTube Shorts if you want to check it out. Okay. Is it D1 time? How are we all doing? Checking in. Are we enjoying the gear rundown? Is this a good format? Going through multiple pieces of gear and just checking them out, running them through the Microcosm for no reason? I think you all would have enjoyed it if I had just stayed with the S1 the whole time. Okay, so like I said, this is a piece of gear that I got early access to. It's the Donner D1. I'm working on a full video for it that will be sponsored by Donner, so take this with however many grains of salt you need. This was a product announced at NAMM. I know the online info for it out there is not, there's not a ton, but I haven't signed any embargo or anything, so I'm going to just give you a rundown of my basic understanding of the D1 thus far. So, the Donner D1, the Essential D1 Performance Beat Machine is what it's called. How this was described to me is that it's a drum machine designed for beginners. So I'm going to go ahead and just plug this into audio just like we were doing before. Sorry about that. Sorry. On the back, quickly, you can see 5-pin MIDI in and out, a main in and out, TRS ports there. I'm using the headphone jack. There's an aux in. There's a USB-C port, the power cable. It is not USB-C powered, by the way. And then an on and off switch. This is a sample-based drum machine. Let me make sure I'm not EQing out the low end for this drum machine. So we've got our beat grid here. We've got our mixing here as well, similar to a lot of drum machines, but instead of having access to every single drum's level, we have access to 4 at a time. And these are in banks, and they're color-coded. So if you can see the colors matching up with each mixer, I can go to bank 2, and here we have, bank B, and then I can go to bank C. I am going to switch to a drum kit that I made. So this drum machine has... Where am I looking? Kit. Sorry. I'm going to kit. And there are a bunch of different pre-made drum kits. So I can select hip hop. So you can actually put samples up to 60 seconds or 59 point something. So we just have a bunch of different kits here available to us, but I'm going to go to one that I just custom made when I was experimenting with importing samples. There's a software that comes with this that you can use that was very easy to use, very easy to import samples. Yeah, so these are just a bunch of samples that I have imported. This was just me testing putting in a long sample in here. I'm just going to bring the decay down on that sample because it's not going to matter if we're not in time. So each one of these drums, we have control over the pitch here. Lots of info on the screen, says Bobby Limes. Yes, you could say that for sure. The screen is actually a welcome thing here. We were talking about screens on MIDI controllers earlier. Definitely welcome here on a drum machine. So we have control over pitch. We have control over decay. Let's see if I can just shorten that up so you can hear the difference. And then each of these drums, depending on the kind of drum, has a unique parameter 1 and parameter 2. So here on the kick or the bass drum, I have a low pass cutoff. And I have a distortion. That's going to be different than the snare or clap snare, which is what's here. I've got a high pass cutoff for this one. And then I've got a resonance as well. Which, yes, the screen is doing work here. I hope you all can see that well. Now I'll jump over. So each one of these has a different parameter. We have low pass cutoff again on low tom, and then we have a bit crasher as well. If I go to hi-hat, this one is actually very good. It has the attack, but it also has a humanizer, which is really great when we start to build sequences. And I really like the icon for this because it goes from looking like a robot to looking like a human. This kind of randomizes the hi-hat sound a little bit. I think it's randomizing the gain of the sample as well as the decay. So when you do like repeated patterns, actually, here, let me do this. You can hear how that's sort of shifting over time. If I turn humanize all the way down, that's just stagnant, straight up the same sound over and over again. And then just crank up humanize and we get that difference. I thought that's a really smart design. You can see that I'm using the stutter feature here. So we have 16th note and 32nd note stutters. We can do just by holding those. And if I hold them together, well, that keeps happening. I keep getting random sample hits. I don't know why. We have 64th note there as well, though. Thank you. Oh, not what I wanted to happen at all. So now I should talk about the sequences because I need to fix this whole thing that's happening here. Obviously, that sequence sounds fine. This sequence sounds fine except for that crash thing that I had here. But the reason it sounds like this is because I did not make this sequence. This is just one of the, or beats, they're called on this machine. Beats. This is just the acoustic 1 beat or pattern or sequence. So I can click beat and I can scroll through now the library of different beats. Let's scroll down and find something like trap. Now this is a custom made kit, so obviously these sequences are going to sound good when you use them with the kit that they're made for. So if I use the trap kit with the trap beat. So I can scroll down and you can obviously create your own, sorry, I need to go to beat. You can create your own patterns as well. So I'm going to scroll down to one that I made. There's a bunch of empty ones here for you to work with as well. Just a random pattern I was working on while I was experimenting. Let me go to a blank one so I can show you, sorry, beat and then down to this one. And this one is empty, right? Hit play, nothing happens. So obviously, yeah. So obviously we can play in notes. And if I hit record, shift record, I can also turn the metronome on. Metronome is on, shift record. Oh, sorry, I don't have to hit shift. Shift record is actually the sequencer. So let's go ahead and sequence the kick drum. Now this is currently a 4-bar sequence, which you can do up to 4. Let's go ahead and edit this sequence or this beat. The length says 4 bars here. I'm just going to change that to being 1 bar for the sake of today. Step velocity says 100. Quantize is at none. So you can actually record in unquantized on this. What do we think so far? Waiting for the Donner joke. Waiting for a Donner joke. It's going to dawn on me soon. Probably, Pascal. In my mind, I'm comparing this to the circuit rhythm. Oh, interesting. I think you're not far off there, actually. I'm not prepared to make that comparison yet, but sample-based drum machine. Let me jump out of the sequencer. Shift sequence. This sample. I need to just delete this sample, basically. Which I could. I could just swap that sample right here, but I'm too lazy to do it right now. We've got that one. Apologies if this has been asked. Have any presets you created been made available? Do you mean for this drum machine? I'm not sure. Is it all mono? Love the 4 sliders. That's a great question. I need to get back to you on that. If the audio is mono, it's looking like... I don't see... again, early look at this gear for me. To me, it's looking like it's mono, but I'm not 100% sure. Potentially, yes. But let me get back to you on that. Don't take my word as gospel here. Oh, for the Donner, has any presets been made available? Well, this drum machine isn't out, and the samples I put in here are just like a combination of my samples and splice samples. So I haven't really made any presets or anything yet. So I've got this kick sequence going here. I did that with the step sequencer, but I can also now record in real time, and that turns on the metronome. I don't have to have the metronome on, though. I can turn the metronome off. Recording is on, so now I can record in. This is unquantized recording. Really messy hi-hat part here that I can now just hit the quantize button. And I can quantize just individual steps as well. For the hi-hat, I'm going to crank up that humanize again. Go to bank A, bank B. So you can do real-time recording and step recording, basically, is my point there. Let me see if I have anything else to report. I talked about pitch, decay, and two different parameters for each different drum. Let's see what they are for this one. We have a high tom frequency resonance here, or not resonance, but level. Or you pick the frequency is what I'm trying to say. And then you have resonance as well. I was also able to set these to all my parameters that I control. These are, how do I say it? These are like pickup. So like right now the bass drum is not changing. I need to go to the bass drum level and then it'll change. I found that was very helpful. That's something I changed in the settings, because if you're switching through pages and you bring the hi-hat way down, I don't want to jump to my bass drum and want to adjust that, and then all of a sudden that jumps to that low level or something, right? We have FX return effects as well. So shift function on parameter 1 and parameter 2 are reverb and delay. So I can hit shift, turn up the reverb on the closed hat, turn up delay. And I have a level of all those effects, a general level for all those effects. I can hit shift master effects, and I can adjust these. So I can change the delay, time, and filter, etc. Sync is on, type digital delay, BBD. I can go, rate. I can go to 16ths or 8ths on that. Well, I can go all the way up to 30-second notes, but I'm trying to find eighth dotted. All right, and then if I hit shift and bring that up, let's hear how that sounds. I can easily mute stuff on the fly here. And then shift, the same thing as solo. Cool. Did I miss any major things? Like I said, I'm still scratching the surface with this as well. There's panning for each instrument as well. And basically it's like you just tap a pad and then you can change all the parameters for it. That's how I've been navigating between that. There's more to do down in the menus and stuff. Like writing your beats and there's song, there's global settings as well, which is like clock source, the pad sensitivity, the curve, the MIDI outs for ports. You can change the brightness of the screen, all kinds of things like that in the menu. Could be nice for live performance. 64-step sequencer. Yes, 4 bars seems to be the maximum. If I go to shift, edit, beat, we can go to length 4 bars. So shame it has no battery. I agree. I really wish it did have a battery. Another case for my volts. I can't stop seeing the Donner logo giving me the finger. Are you projecting, Sledgeman Guitar? Are you projecting? This is why you had to sell your old gear. I actually haven't sold much gear at all. But yes, it is new gadget time, Square Breaker. I'm in a fortunate position where this gear just arrives at my doorstep. So, which does create a problem if nothing's going out and only new is coming in. The closets are only so big. You know what I mean? And my time is only so limited. I gotta get rid of. I was just like messing with the sample import, so I was trying to import as many like weird samples as I possibly could. All right, but anyway, yes, you can save your patterns, you can save your beats. There's no like pattern chaining. However, you can switch between patterns and it will switch in time. I don't want to definitively say there's no pattern chaining or whatever, because like I said, I'm just scratching the surface. I do believe there's a song mode I haven't used yet, but I could just go ahead and switch the pattern now. Sorry. And it will just switch in time. And those settings, all the settings are held inside the pattern. So levels, effects, and all that. And of course, if we run it through the microcosm, cool, huh? Of course, like I said, it's cheating running stuff through the microcosm. Make me hook this up to the IRAs at some point. You're right. This unit's going to be a big plus in creating your house music. I agree, Celestine Prof, but that brings us to our final device that I want to talk about today, which I need to switch power cables for a moment. So hold that thought. We are going to now talk about the TR8s. What do we think of all this gear today, by the way? Oh, Pascal says, thank you for the stream today. Lots of fun. I'm glad we're having fun today. I found that when we were doing like just news the whole time, I did not leave the stream really feeling great. Funny how the news can make you feel not that great. So here where we split it up, we do a little news, we do a little Q&A, we do a little tech. This is a format that I'm enjoying. But look what we got here, chat. So big it takes up the whole frame. There we go. TR8s. TR8s, which I need to plug its power cord in. So give me one moment. Plugging in the power, plugging in the power. I see a future where the population will look back at us. Think of all the things we look back on like, oh, you had to do this in the 1970s or whatever. I think plugging things into power is going to be that of our current time. Oh, you had to plug in all your electronics into the wall? That's crazy. All right. This is a legendary drum machine here. Been around a while. I kind of kept having my eye on it. And boy, am I not ready to talk about this in any kind of informed way. But what do you all know about the TR8s? I'm curious. Oh, I should plug in the audio cable, huh? I should turn that off so you guys don't get your ears blasted. And headphone out, headphone out. Where is the headphone out? Guess what? It's a 1/4 inch size. So there's what we're doing now. All right. We're playing. Let me find the input. We're on 5 and 6. Let's bring that in gradually. This is the pattern that initially loads up. Let me go to pattern select. I do believe I created a custom pattern. Oh no, oh no. Not that, not that, not that, not that. Oh yeah, here's the pattern I was having fun with. Let me tell you what, that ride cymbal is too loud. Thank you, Leah. Good luck at your or Leah, thank you. Good luck at your piano lesson. Hope you practiced. Damien says, all I know is I need one. That's all you need to know about the TR8s. Could definitely sense that you were doing all news. Glad for mixing it up. Yeah, I just want to make a show that is worth doing, So if I can teach you all about some gear or we can have fun together and I can just show off some gear, or if we can talk about some topics, or if the music making process is interesting to people, all of the above, I want to be able to do that. I don't want to just turn on a camera and be here for no reason. Like, it's not an ego trip where it's like, everybody watch me, watch me. There's got to be a reason to watch, right? So I thought doing the news was like, okay, that's a really important thing. Let's just do that. But it can't just be that. We do have to bring it back to the music making at some point. This is where my analog cases stands really come in. These freaking XTS stands, which are amazing. They are a sponsor of the channel, but take that with whatever grain of salt you will. Every time let me just say, when I take a sponsor because I think they are things that will improve my life, or that I find to be interesting, or that I think you all will find interesting. So I don't just take sponsors. I don't just take every email that says we want to give you money. I think about how relevant it is to me. But these are the XTS stands, and these are a neck killer. Obviously, they don't make for that good of a viewing experience for you, though. So I'll sacrifice my neck for you all. This is already getting some dust on it, by the way. Let's just polish it off. So yeah, if I was sitting here normally, I would be sitting here with it on this stand, which is definitely needed for the TR8s because all of the labels, or most of the labels, are blocked. So like a label is in line with these knobs, you can't see the word because the knob is in front of it, you know? All right, so there's that. But this is obviously much better for you, so I'll sacrifice for you, chat, okay? There's probability on all this. That's the next thing I started to get into. But what I really love about the TR8s, the best way I can describe it is, you know, I started making music with a guitar and singing. So like you pick the instrument up and what you see is what you get. You got 6 strings, you can strum through 6 strings, you can press on these frets, and that's what you do. The instrument is the instrument. And then I got into electronic music, where you pick up a device, and what you see is what you get times like 50. So you have to remember that you have to hold 5 different controls so you can get to this menu and do this thing or whatever. And I've been getting kind of exhausted with that lately. So my point is, the TR8s, drum machines in general, are the closest thing I can feel to like that experience of an instrument. What you see is what you get. Obviously, there's more than that. With any electronic instrument, there's more than that. But you've got parameters for each drum. You've got your sequence here. You can, in real time, touch it, play with it. If that's what you're into. It's just the instant control over stuff that I really like. So I've been getting into that. So basically, if you're unfamiliar with this layout, each one of these vertical columns here in this section is a different drum. So I've got my, I'll just make everything muted. I've got my kick drum here, for instance, which I can change the tuning of. I've got a freaking low high pass filter on this. Sorry. And then we've got a decay here as well, which is not going to be so obvious on the kick, but. And then we've got a control knob, which can be edited. Let's see if I remember how to edit this. So right now it's on the delay send. If I hold control, I can change this to be a different thing. So from delay send, let's change it to reverb send, just something that's obvious. And you can hear that that's a really short reverb situation. We do have an overall level here. And I should change that. With delay, we have access to level, time, and feedback, which I think is good. Let me change something else. I think there should be a distortion here, or bit reduce. There we go. I'm just looking for something interesting. I might put it back on delay. Yeah, let's put it back on delay. So we have delay here. We have the delay time here, which is fun to play with. And we have the feedback. So it's just like, let's turn that off. We have immediate control over each drum. So let me find closed hat. And what's the control for this? Filter. And this sound is obviously panned. Clap. And that's tunes. The knobs look small. I don't know. They're pretty standard size, I would say. Grab the knob, turn it. I have big hands, by the way. I can almost guarantee I have bigger hands than anybody in this chat. And you'll never know. You'll never know. We'll never be able to prove it. With all of these instruments, by the way, there's a pad here for real-time playing, if that's what you're into. You can obviously also put things on the grid. So obviously you can have a lot of fun here. You can record the motion. So if it's like recording the automation. So if you want to change things and have that motion recorded in time, you can do that with the motion record. So let me do that. Let me find out what I want to do that with though. How about the high tom? That's probably the easiest thing to do. Actually, let's do it on the closed hat, the K. I have to be in instrument play mode, I think. Actually, I don't know. Oh, we are in that mode. Do I have to be off first? So there you go. That closed hat motion was recorded. I know that was a little clunky. I'm still getting used to this device. This device, out of all the ones that we looked at today, is like the deepest that I've had to get acclimated with the workflow. It is like it's not a new device by any means, but I feel like it's a generation removed from some current generation gear. So some of the workflow felt a bit like, oh, okay, I haven't used gear where I've had to kind of use this kind of workflow in a while. That kind of thing. What's up, Tiffany Anthony? Thank you for joining. You're joining here pretty much close to the end of the stream, but thank you for popping in. You'll definitely be able to watch back. So there's instrument record and instrument play. So like I said, you can play instruments in real time. We've got hands-on control over the mix. It's interesting how all these devices approach like their terminology. What we're listening to right now is a pattern. So if I do pattern select, I can select a different pattern. And within the patterns, it saves everything, like the sound selection and everything. I actually tried to watch one YouTube video, and I'm not going to say who it was by. I don't think you'll ever find it or whatever. I tried to watch one beginner video on this, and as somebody who really prides themselves on making very good videos for beginners, I couldn't believe how bad this beginner's video was and how confused I was watching it. So it kind of affirmed my my viewpoint that like beginner content is like so important. All right, but anyway, I'm switching between these patterns, which are different sounds, different patterns, different tempos. Now within those patterns, we have variations, I believe these are called. this A through H, but it definitely seems like the system here wants you to build your song within a pattern. So I've got these different variations within the pattern, and those variations can be chained together. So there's nothing there, so it's not doing anything. But they don't have to be chained together linearly. As you can see, this is going, or maybe you can't see, but now this is going from pattern A to pattern D. And when I say pattern, I mean variation. So it's very confusing. But that's the way it is, folks. So here I could program something in pattern D, variation D. I also think it's very interesting that when we switch to these different variations, the step sequence doesn't change. But again, I'm very new to this device, so. I love messing with that delay in real time. There's Master Effects here, which I have on a filter. And you can change up whatever you want your Master Effects to be. They have a bunch of different stuff. A bunch of different type of effects. So I can change the type. Let's see. The isolator. Let's try that. But there's also settings that you can change within each effect. Type. I want to change the type. Sure, let's pick distortion. You know how it goes. So I'm really excited to go in deep with this device. I think a drum machine... I've been in a drum machine kind of mood, and a drum machine I had before was the Drum Brew Impact, which is, or I still have it. It's still a good drum machine, but it's more limited in the kind of sounds you can put into it. This is loaded with a bunch of sounds, and also you can import your own samples. Pascal says TR8s has a better interface, better effects, more effects, parameter automation, multiple outputs, and better memory than the original TR8. Yes. So what happens when they release a TR8s? Maybe not. Maybe that's a bad idea. TR8s squared. Roman, how's it going? I just tried out the Nectar Aruba Beat Composer. Great piece of kit, but not quite what I was looking for. Just ordered the crazy Nectar Panorama CS12 with 100. Roman, do you work for this Nectar company? Tell the truth. With 100% logic integration. It's a channel control. I think Roman's a spy from Nectar. Just kidding, just kidding. And maybe use Native Instruments machine for meat making. That reminds me of my favorite video ever. Not favorite video ever, but favorite like clip. Let me find it. I'm gonna bring this up here. When you mention meat making, this is what I think of, and I just referenced this the other day. Friday vibes. I can like hear the music that's happening in this as well. I gotta lower the volume. All right. This is what I think of when we are talking about meat making.
What is this? We're making sausages.
Friday vibes.
I thought you were gonna watch a video.
I love this video. I love this episode of Seinfeld. He just comes home and Kramer and Newman are making sausages. Not only they're making sausages, but they look panicked and they're dancing to like polka music. That's iconic clip. That's the energy I want every Friday. Every day of the week, really. But that's how Friday should feel. Like Kramer and Newman making sausages in Jerry's apartment. Okay, chat. We've reached an impasse. We're coming to the end here. We're arriving toward the end. How did we enjoy today's stream, everybody? So also something to talk about is over the weekend, I created a bunch of content, short form content and photos and stuff. And I've kind of scheduled out the whole month of June with a bunch of cool content. So you'll be seeing more shorts on the channel. I don't know how many of you watch shorts on YouTube. I know sometimes it's a completely different audience. But also there will be Instagram Reels too. So if you're following me on Instagram, there will be new content going up there too. So pretty much throughout the weeks, generally around Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there will be posts going up from me exploring different sounds or just different vibey videos and stuff. We will continue on through with our Monday streaming. Next Monday, we should be announcing a new community challenge. So stay tuned for that. I'm just waiting on confirmation, but we should have a new community challenge starting next week. That's what we'll be talking about next week. As usual, if you have any suggestions for content or things you want to see on this channel, on these streams, or in a video, I'm always open. You can comment on any video and I will see it. Tag me in your Instagram stories when you're watching a video or when you're inspired by something or when you're working with gear. I always love to see that stuff. And that's all we got today. But as you can see, no shortage of new stuff to come here on this channel. Do more of these and enjoy and explore new machines. Stream was cool, man. Yeah, the thing is, Toby, I just happen to be at this moment where I have a bunch of new gear. So maybe there's like a next level where it's like we just do the IRAs or we just do the drum machine or whatever. It could be like that. I think that's a definite move for next time. And that's all. Any parting wisdom for us? Any final questions in the chat before we leave today? We've been going live for 2 hours, 33 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like on the stream on your way out. If you haven't seen my latest videos, sometimes YouTube doesn't show it to everybody. So just head to the channel page and check out videos and you'll see it there. If you tuned in late and you can't find the stream later, it's because it's in the 2024 streams playlist. So go to the playlist and you'll see all of our past streams there. We did a really great 4-hour-long stream last week where we were reviewing music from the community. We'll do one again at the end of this month. So if you want to become a channel member, now is the best time. If you hit the join button down below, you can see the Discord. You can get into our Discord. You can get members-only workshops, which are already available. There's like 9 workshops that you can watch right now. There's free downloads. I dropped a free download of my house music performance, the stems for that. Those are for members. Check the community tab if you missed that. But yeah, joining as a member is the best way to support the channel and get a bunch in return for you. There's even a behind the scenes video of that setup back there, me just walking through it. So if you're on mobile, you won't see a join button, but if you go on desktop, you'll see a join button and you can see all the different membership tiers. But that's also how you get your name in the credits of the videos. All right, y'all. Would be cool to see a video on how to expand gear without actually having to buy gear. That's a good idea, Pascal. Very good idea. I'm going to put that in my videos idea doc list. Thank you, Square Breaker. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who tuned in for the first time today. I see new faces or new names and old names, regular names. So thank you all for being here. Shout out to all of you. Celestine Prof says I will watch the beginning afterwards, but what I saw was very good. New devices to check out. Very cool. Yep. That's the vibes. All right, everybody. See you all on Instagram or other posts later in the week. That's going to be it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.